Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Quick Resume 29. One off the big 30. What a time to be alive. My name is Deck. That handsome man over there, his name is Tim. We're coming at you live. Hi, Tim. How's it going? I don't know why I say that because
everyone.
Nobody's going to listen to this live.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say. It's like, what do you expect? Like a round of applause, like canned applause and laughter. We should get that. We should get like a soundboard.
I have been looking into it in the past, but it's just fucking confusing to do. You have to like download software as like a auxiliary input and shit. But it's
yeah, it'd have to be an input. Yeah,
that's right.
But
so which I'm clueless.
It could be quite funny to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah, I think so.
We have crowds of people watching us. You know, so we don't just make it all up in our heads.
We can trick everyone to believe that we have higher production values than we actually do, and that's key.
I think we have decent production value for like how small we are.
What do you think?
Like hardly. I think we have a nice like template going for like when we talk and stuff like that, and we got
those thumbnails, mate.
We got a little bop. You got a little jingle to come into.
That's true.
Like, I think we've got more production values than podcasts out there that are bigger than us.
Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, let us know.
Why the fuck aren't people subscribing? Is basically what I'm trying to say. But
well,
yeah. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Great.
Yeah. It's good to be here. So I'm sure everyone noticed we were missing last week, and
I put a tweet out.
Oh, you did put a tweet out. Thank God.
I always don't worry
about an angry mob outside my house. Yeah. Jesus.
So angry.
Yeah, no, I was I was very sick last week. I feel like I said I'm sick so many times on this podcast.
You have,
right? I've been sick a lot this year. I'm not normally that bad. I'm normally the sort of person to get sick like maybe once, twice a year, maybe, and it's always around Christmas. But I never pick up things. Like I've been sick like at least like 5-6 times this year, if not more.
You really have, and it's always over the weekends, which kind of sucks. Is it? Have you gotten more sick since you've stopped playing cricket since the season's ended?
Potentially. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it probably is because I'm a little bit of a basement gremlin.
Well, it happens to me when like I stop playing sport, my immune system just dies and I get sick way more often.
Yeah, and I just think everyone's immune system is just a bit worse these days as well. I mean, just over the course of, you know, our lives changing a lot over COVID and stuff like that, and you know, people have just been out a lot less, I guess, and not as exposed to the elements as much as they normally would be.
It's true. People are getting more sick. There's plenty of studies that are showing people are getting more sick at the moment.
Yeah, no, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, no, this year's just been very, very sicky for me.
Sicky boy.
But I haven't got the flu, so that's probably something else for me to catch because I hear it's flu season right. I've just got a cold right now. Mm-hmm. But I hear there's a really bad flu going around, so knowing my luck, I'll probably pick that up really soon as well.
Yeah, catch them all.
Yeah, so I probably won't be here next week.
Scarlet fever.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, as a result of that, I mean, I'm still a bit bunged up, but I'm good enough to do it this week. The poddy. But yeah, as a result of that, I haven't really been playing too many games. I mean, we've been playing a lot of Back 4 Blood since that came out. We were supposed to actually give our sort of thoughts on that last week, weren't we? Because it came out not last week, but the week before. It's been out for like 2 weeks now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So that's been good actually. I've actually been quite pleasantly surprised with Back 4 Blood. I mean, I always had kind of high hopes for it more than you, I think. But yeah, it's pretty good, man. I mean, I've only played like it's really in depth. Before I go into what I'm just about to say, it's much more in depth than I thought it would be. And I've only played like one character, like the girl Holly who specializes in like stamina and melee and stuff like that, and that's literally the only character I played in all of our game time. And you could literally build a deck around like all the characters and all their different like abilities and specialities and stuff like that. And I still don't feel like it's gotten that stale. and I've kind of only been using that one character and adapting one deck based around melee and stamina.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've been quite pleasantly surprised with that. The whole card system is pretty good. I think we both agree they could have done a better job in terms of maybe making it a bit more fun. How you acquired cards. It's a little bit boring.
Yeah, I think
It works like
yeah.
mechanically, but it's just a bit boring.
It really feels like the whole supply line thing was something that they like wedged into the game in the last 6 months, like after experimenting with loads of ways to like, I don't know, maybe monetize it or make it randomized or make it come with packs or something. And because
Yeah.
like when you finish a supply line and it gives you a new one and it's like got a different name, there's only like
Mhm.
6 names in total. So like one of them's like Fred's house or something, and like you get Fred's house like every second time. So like,
Yeah.
and with the same description, and it's like, this doesn't feel right. So I really reckon that this is something that they clumped together, and the basic gist of it is that there's a offensive tree, a defensive tree. I say tree, it's just like a line of cards that you progress through, and then a utility
Yeah.
tree. And then if you unlock one of them, that one gets replaced and you get a new one. So, but what essentially ends up happening is that everybody usually has roughly the same cards at roughly the same time, unless you're really darting down one tree and ignoring the others. And that's kind
Mm.
of, for a game that is like co-op focused, I feel like a big draw or like a big conversational factor in a lot of these games is like, oh, I've got this wiki card, it does this and that, and then your mates say, oh fuck man, I wish I had that, like, and then
Yeah.
you're on the hunt for it. And so so that, I think they've kind of missed a trick there. I understand why they've done it the way they have, because I think they wanted to avoid backlash around like randomization
Yeah.
and
It's more
RNG.
accessible the way they've done it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Um. uh,
But I can't lie that it definitely, like when I go back with like 300 supply points, I'm hardly like tingling at my feet. I'm like, if I've got a new supply line to re-roll and that the new one's coming up, I'm kind of excited to see what's in the new one. But like, I ultimately know it like, I will open a new one and then recognize a couple of cards that like you or some of the other guys that we play with have already mentioned. So I'm like, okay, so I'm behind them already, and like,
mm.
it's still a cool card, but it like dampens that excitement a bit. But yeah, I understand why they did what they did, and overall, yeah, I think the card system is actually very, very cool and very, very good. I think it's actually kind of saving the game, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it's the one like novelty that it has over Left 4 Dead that really makes it stand out from the rest, other than like like class systems or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's the thing that's
Yeah.
like pulling me back to play more.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. It's absolutely like the best thing about the game in terms of replayability, like 100%. It's yeah, you can get quite a lot out of it, and you notice it as well. It's not one of those things where it's just like you get like buffs and little stats increases and you hardly even notice it, but you put it on. But like, we physically couldn't do veteran, which was the medium difficulty. And then once we built a deck and we got some cards and stuff like that, and we were just like, okay, so this is actually a deck focused purely around stamina and regaining health when I melee something. And I was like, and then we hopped into vet, and it was like night and day. Like it was still hard, but we could actually do it. And you really notice these card effects, and the choices really mean a lot as well. Like the order you put the cards in and the choices you make at the beginning of the rounds are really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a few times where you actually picked the wrong card, and we actually had to like we stopped the level, didn't we? We just like we can't do it. Like I fucked up because I picked the wrong card.
Mm-hmm.
So they are like really impactful. And yeah, I actually think they've done a really good job. I think they could have done it a bit more exciting. It would have been cool to like bust open a pack at the end of a level or something like that.
Yeah, with like
Or
rarity as
like
well, you know.
yeah, or like at the end of a level, you still have like this supply line option, so you pick like the offensive, defensive, or utility.
Yeah.
Um, and then like it comes up as like 3 packs, like an offense pack, a defense pack, or a utility pack, and
Mm.
you pick offense, and it busts open a pack of random offense cards. For like 5 or 6 of them. There are ways they can make it a bit more exciting. But
Yeah, agreed.
it's definitely far more accessible as it is, and you don't feel like you're missing out. You don't feel like there's RNG. We don't want one of those fucking Galahorn moments where you're the only person in the raid without a Galahorn, so you're fucking shit and useless. Those moments aren't there because of the way they've done the system. So
yeah, I think I can see I can see why they've done things the way they have. It's by no means bad at all. It's just something to think about, really. And what I think I've really liked. So I guess in terms of setting the scene, Back for Blood has currently, it seems to have settled on an open critic of 77, which was pretty good when it was getting reviewed. It went up to an 80 for a bit, and then it came down to 79, and now it's settled on 77. 77 is obviously really nice, really good. I think hopefully Turtle Rock have a bit of a hit on their hands, because they've, I'm always vibing for developers to make these sorts of co-op centric games. And one thing I always sort of speak about, because people make this argument of playing co-op games, and when they get reviewed well, or when people speak positive of co-op games versus playing that game solo, and people will say, you can have fun playing any game co-op, even you can have fun throwing shit around with your friends if you want to. I was like, okay, fine, yes, but that doesn't detract from the fact that some games are just facilitative to cooperative play. And I just think that's so different. I don't feel like anybody speaks about it's yes, you can. I'm trying to think of an example. It's like if you're playing COD, whatever, and you're playing a multiplayer match, you're essentially 6 solo players doing your own fucking thing, trying to get kills. That is not a game you can play it with other people, co-op, whatever. But it's not facilitative to co-op, really. I guess there are some objective modes where you can maybe make the argument that it's further along that scale. Then you look at something like Apex, right? There's abilities. You play as a 3. There's loads of mechanics where you have to work with your team to make things work. There's pinging. It's facilitative to co-op. And I think Back 4 Blood does that in quite a few good ways. And it's also something I always thought about, something like Sea of Thieves. People would say, oh, you can, especially when it would launch, people said, you can have fun playing co-op with any game. But it's well, yeah, but the game, of course the game isn't going to be as good in solo, because it's from the ground up, it's designed to be facilitated for co-op play. You can do things with other people that you just couldn't do solo. So anyway, I just wanted to draw that line, because I think Back 4 Blood is quite good with that. It's especially with the card systems and the different classes. There are so many times I'm dropping meds, and we're swapping equipment to each other because we use it better, because we're spec'd around it, and it's just this it's this extra layer of we couldn't do this unless we were in a party communicating, and that's that extra layer which makes it even better, I think, when you're playing it as a pre-made.
Yeah, for sure. It's really good. Yeah, the whole we're always buying medkits and dropping them in the heat of battle, or after a horde or something like that, for our friend who's playing a healing character who's got so many cards spec'd into 20% healing efficiency. You heal trauma when you use a medkit on someone, that sort of thing. So he just gets so much more out of it. We drop it for him, he uses it on us, boom, done. You picked a character, especially when we started playing veteran, that specialized in making sure everyone had loads of ammo, and making sure you always had grenades to take out big threats really quickly. You were just okay, we can't deal with this, boom, grenade, done. You had 6 of them. It's really handy to have, and there's a chance enemies drop ammo on death and stuff like that, which is really important. I'm playing a stamina focused character, so I'm good at clearing all the mobs and stuff like that with my wide swing melees. I tend to run for the objectives and stuff because I've got triple the stamina of anyone else. Yeah, it's just really nice. And yeah, I 100% agree. When you play something like COD, it's just, you're still just mindlessly running in, killing, spawning. You're not really doing much. I mean, obviously, we're not talking about Warzone here. Warzone would be different. But a COD multiplayer match, yeah, there's no difference really. If you're playing it with a friend, you might have a bit more fun, but there's no change of core gameplay experience and how you approach things when you're playing a game like that over a game like this.
Right, yeah. And that's my problem. It's just this kind of flattening of everything, all co-op games, into if we break it down into its parts, it's not really that good because you could have fun doing anything with friends. It's like, well, like, come on, like, it's more like, that, like I said, it's just having that kind of scale of like, you can play together, but does it facilitate good play? And then like stuff on the far end of that spectrum, I would say are things like your Sea of Thieves, your Deep Rock Galactic is another thing that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Back 4 Blood is probably like in the middle somewhere, but yeah, it's it makes it more interesting, and I think as well, veteran difficulty, which is the middle one, is where the game really starts to shine with a lot of this stuff, all of the things we've spoken about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it feels like a completely different game to when we played it on the first way through on Recruit, which I think is what they were going for. Like, I remember when I first started the game, I was like, why did they make it like this? I was like, this step up's like crazy, it's stupid, it doesn't make any sense. But I think they wanted people to play through once on Recruit and then understand how the cards worked and get a kind of grips of how to build a deck or what character you might want to play, and then you go back into that. Like, I think it was quite an intentional difficulty spike on purpose. So yeah, anyone who is thinking about going into play it, I play it on Recruit first if you're still on the fence or you haven't actually played it yet. Don't pick it and pick Vet because it's the middle difficulty. That's the one everyone picks when they start a new game. It's not. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So play Recruit.
Definitely. And like, I think we've sung a lot of praises about it, but it's by no means perfect. I think there is some weirdness with a lot of it. But I generally, I guess, is it a full price game? I mean, obviously it's on Games Pass, which is its own conversation, but
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's a £50 game.
Yeah,
surprisingly not buggy though. I don't think I've experienced really any bugs or tech issues really. Maybe one.
We have had a few, but it's mostly been pretty good. The only thing that I would say has been a problem is a bit of like jankiness here and there. But nothing huge for sure. Like the aiming to start with, and I think that has immediately put people off. Most people don't have the patience to fuck around. Like, they don't even know what aiming settings are.
Yeah, it did take a while to get right. Yeah.
Right, and it did feel like shit. I don't know what they had done. Like the bullet, like the aim assist, like pushed you off target. It was so fucked up. It's like they accidentally slid the aim assist number into negatives rather than like positives. It was so weird.
Yeah.
So once you figure that out, the aiming was pretty smooth. Every now and again, there's like zombies that skip like jerk around. Have you seen that before? They rubber band, and you're like, what is going on here? It's not. It's quite rare, but it does happen, and it's just quite jarring.
I've seen it a few times. Yeah. Yeah. I guess things can be a bit slidey and a bit rubbery and a bit. Yeah. Oh, there's a little bit of polish that could be there. But
those fucking crushers and the slammers that like get within a 20-meter range of you and just slide over. They're like Commando Pro. Yeah. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think there's a fair amount of content, all things considered. It's like 20 levels. They like with a big range in like length. Some of them are really long and some of them are quite short. Overall, I think the levels are not that good. I think they're kind of boring. It's held.
The scenery changes nicely. I think there's you never feel like you're in one area for too long. Like,
I don't know. You retread levels though.
A couple, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe there's quite a lot of like the grassy, swampy areas and stuff like that. But I think overall the level design isn't bad. At the end of the day, you're kind of just running along a route, right?
I mean, I don't think it's bad. It's just okay. Like, I think they could have. It really felt like 20-year-old map design. Like, there was just nothing interesting about them. Like, they were fine, whatever. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. There were some nooks and crannies here and there, and the locked doors where you can find stuff. But other than that, they were just kind of okay. None of it really impressed me. There's a fair amount of them, which is good. And I think there's a real problem with distinguishing between enemy types. There are 9 different specials. I didn't know because some of them look so similar.
Yeah, it's like the spitters and the grabbers look very similar. Apart from like the glowy head on the grabbers, I, for the life of me, sometimes can't tell the difference between a Crusher and a Tall Boy.
Yeah,
I'm like, which one is it?
I can't. I
Like,
didn't know. I didn't know they were different things.
yeah, they literally look exactly the same.
Oh no, hang on. No, because there is a third one. I'm getting confused now. Because the Crusher's the one that grabs you, and then there's a Tall Boy which
Yeah,
slams. But then there's a third
yeah,
one that looks the same. That has.
really.
Yeah. I think the Tall Boy comes in and does like a big single like AoE lunge, and there's another one that has like a spiky big arm, and he does like multiple big hits.
That's a different
That's a
special. I
different
had
one,
no idea.
yeah,
I just
yeah.
thought I just thought that was a corruption card altering the way it played.
And the only reason I know that is because I went on the fucking PvP game mode, and because you can pick all of them, and I was like, "What is this? Is like new? Is this exclusive to the game mode?" And then I started looking out for it, and I was like, "Oh fuck, there is actually more." You literally just can't tell because they look that similar.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird that they went for a really similar design on all of them.
I think the idea was that they had like 3 archetypes and then 3 sub archetypes within them. They had like the fat boys, the little fucking nippy tiny ones, and then the tall ones, and then they made 3 within each. It's like the big ones, like one of them vomits, one of them just runs at you and blows up, and there's another third one that I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a bit of a problem as well, but it's not the end of the world because ultimately it's just shooty in the head, basically.
Yeah. It would be quite nice to have the whole, because they were very distinctive in the Left 4 Dead games, weren't they? They did look very, very different. Gross, in fact.
Yeah,
quite a lot of them. The design, I actually think, now that I think about it, I think the designs on the specials were actually better in Left 4 Dead. They're quite similar. Like a lot of them have just been sort of copied and pasted over, but just the actual designs I think were better in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has its issues, but surprisingly pretty good, because based on Left 4 Dead not being a very polished game when it came out as well, I did kind of expect this one to have a lot more issues than it did right out the gates. And it was quite nice that it was just kind of like pick up and play and have fun right from the get-go kind of thing.
Perfect for Games Pass as well, to be honest.
It's absolutely perfect Games Pass game. It's just it's like it was made for that. Oh, also, we didn't talk about the AI. The AI is fucking dreadful.
Oh yeah,
the AI teammates are actually like, I think it's probably the worst AI I've actually seen.
So bad.
Maybe ever. It's so bad.
Yeah,
absolutely. You have to play that game with friends,
which is a real problem.
You can't.
Yeah, which is a real problem, because I think it comes back to this thing of like, your experience is going to be drastically improved if you play this with friends. Ideally a 4-man, but if you can't, that's fine. But I think playing this game solo would be tough.
It'd be the worst ever. I don't think I could ever do it.
And playing with randos again is tough because they've like neutered the ping system and like it doesn't kind of work. I'm still not sure if it's a bug or if that's intentional. Yeah. Either way, it's not good. So, but overall, it is good. We're having a good time with it. I can feel myself slowing down on it a bit, because like the cards are more expensive now, so it takes longer to unlock them. And I'm retreading levels on a high difficulty. And even though it is a lot more fun and a lot more engaging, it never really feels like I'm like redoing the same thing. It's just there isn't. I don't know. I don't really know how to frame it. I was going to say there isn't that much variety, but there is, because the levels do vary like quite a lot. You've got like an ogre or the hags, or all those card multipliers. They do add up, or the mist. They do make a difference. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I want to keep playing it, but I can feel my motivation slowing down a bit. But maybe that's just because it doesn't have the honeymoon period anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like there was something else I wanted to say about it. It was the Games Pass, and how much success it's had on Games Pass. So there are some numbers floating around somewhere. I can't remember where, but like the amount of people playing Back 4 Blood on Xbox versus PlayStation is huge. So, and I think it's got a really, really nice foundation. I think Back 4 Blood, which is kind of cool, I can see myself coming back to this, in a year's time or whatever. If we're still playing it in
Mhm.
a month, in a year's time where they've added like, an Act 4 or an Act 5 or whatever, and maybe another character, loads more cards. Like I can see myself coming back to it. Maybe some more specials, because it is
Yeah,
ultimately fun
for
to play.
sure.
So really
Yeah,
nice
it's a
foundation
good,
as well. So I think
good
it's
thing, that.
it's a success overall. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Rad. All right. Well, that's it for Back for Blood. I did want to speak about it as well because we spoke about it in our last show. Was grounded, and we're speaking about it. And we're speaking about the new update which came out this week. And straight after the podcast 2 weeks ago, we went away and we played a bit of Grounded, didn't we?
Hmm.
Squash some bugs. And I had I had a great time.
It is
I
good.
literally don't know
Yeah,
why, but I did. I can't put my finger on like why
I
I
can.
was
I
having a good
can.
time. Go on then.
It's far better than when we last played it in every way. Like, I just feel like they just ironed out so much of the jankiness. Like the whole building system, I feel like is so much more polished, like with the terrain and how you build it as well. And because like I know the basic mechanics are still there, but I could swear when we first played it, building a house was the most infuriating thing because it was just so janky with the way it interacted with the terrain, because the terrain's not very flat. There's loads of shit everywhere. So placing your blueprints and building was always so hard to place. And they're always flicking around and skitting out and going crazy. And now the game just it's just like, yeah, you can put it there, sure. We don't give a shit about that rock, or we don't give a shit about that elevation there, or anything like that. And it's just so like I built like just a house with like loads of stuff in it and chests and everything in like 5-10 minutes.
Mm.
Like not even like, and that
Yeah,
is
so
so much quicker than anything like Ark or Minecraft or anything like that of a similar genre.
yeah, I think it's
And
you
yeah,
can tell. Sorry, I just jumped in. I was going to say you can tell that they've looked around and learnt a lot from other survival games because it's a necessity for quality of life in survival games.
mm. Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Just having it be accessible and not feel like so much of a chore. I don't. I feel like they're not that stingy with the materials you get as well. Like you knock down a piece of grass or a tree or something like that, and you get quite a lot from it. Like it's not like you have to be hacking wood for like fucking 2 hours to build like 2 walls or something like that. Like that's really what I felt it was like an arc. I just felt like I was always punching wood, just always. I was just in
Yeah,
a
grabbing
constant state of
berries.
punching
Yeah,
wood, yeah, and grabbing
I remember
berries.
I got like repetitive strain on my finger because I had like a Y, I think it was, or X maybe on a paddle, and I was
Yeah,
just whenever I was running, I was just mashing it to like just grab berries because you needed
yeah,
it or you died in like 5 minutes for being hungry.
yeah,
And eventually my wrist started seizing up, and I was like, I can't play this game anymore. I can't.
yeah. It's so bad. Yeah, if you were to eat that many berries in real life, you'd explode.
Yeah, you would.
Like, there's no way. Like, berries are way more filling than that game gives off.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
I agree.
but yeah, and it's just cute, right? The whole like design of it is way different to anything else.
Yeah, it's
Like again, you
creative.
could argue Ark's cool. It's like it's dinosaurs and shit, but like it's still got that realism factor where I don't know. I feel like it doesn't take itself too seriously. Grounded. It's just fun and it's cute and it's quirky. And the way they describe items and they use words like nab and slurp and all that kind of stuff instead of
Huck.
drink and eat, yeah, and shit like that. It just doesn't really take itself too seriously, and it just makes you just everything feel a bit more lighthearted, I
It
think.
wants you to have fun, doesn't
um
it? That's the thing.
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't want you to be
um
drooling like farming for resources and yeah.
yeah, which is what it felt like when we first played it, when it came right out of preview. And yeah, I feel like they just simplified everything, and just made it way better. And I think maybe they made it so it's a lot less materials to make stuff like armor and weapons. I feel like they reduced the amount it was to make that kind of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, it's just good. The combat's better than most games in that genre as well.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
what the fuck?
it's still your basic, sort of swing and stuff like that, but it just feels
It's
kind
responsive.
of crunchy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like you hit stuff, you feel it, and then you go into a defense when you can actually see an enemy looking like it's going to attack you. So then you're like, I'm going to defend.
Yeah.
Where other games of that genre, it's just
they
like
just like glitch around.
Yeah, the enemies are just sliding everywhere, and you're like, where's my health gone? It didn't even look like it attacked me.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you can see them actually like winding up for an attack, and you're like, okay, well now I'll block and stuff like that. So it's still simple, but it's just done right. I don't know.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's just satisfying because it's bugs. It's fucking bugs. Like there are so many times we like killed shit and their like limbs just fell off and their head rolled down the hill, and you're like, oh, and, like 'cause you fucking batter it, and it's just like,
yeah, it's kind of gross as well.
No, it's kind of gross.
Like
it just.
I remember when I first was digging for those grubs, those little worms, and I had no idea. There was a chance that you could dig up like a lava, which is like like when they evolve one stage further. And I dug it up, and this horrible, gross, spiky thing just started like screaming at me and attacking me, and I'm like, this is not what I was expecting when I dug into the ground. This is fucking disgusting.
It's really funny. It is really funny because like I don't feel like that is an emotion like on the emotional wheel. Like disgust is not usually an emotion that is invoked by the games that I play. And to get that so regularly ungrounded, I'm like, it does feel, it helps it feel quite unique. There was something we were killing. Oh, there was like a big boy we were trying to kill the other day. Was it one of the like? It's funny that I can't remember.
Was it the ladybug that we killed like last night?
No. I'm thinking of when we played, but like 2 weeks ago. It was like the thing that like launched bombs at us. It's funny. I don't know the name of the bug. I just know the name. Like
cockroaches, wasn't it?
It was what?
Like, wasn't it a cockroach?
It might have been a cockroach or something like that. Yeah.
Or was it those dung beetles? I think it might have been a dung beetle.
Yeah, maybe. And it's just, it's just like whenever I come across a new bug like that, and you like hear them like scuttling and shit, and the noises they make, I'm just like, my spine is like having a seizure.
Plus you just don't know as well. Whenever I see a bug like that, I'm always just like, friend or foe. Like, I have no idea. And then he just starts fucking charging at me, and I'm like, well, foe, I guess.
Yeah, because they are passive. And it's like, like the anthill we found, like we got close to it, and all you could hear was, and it's just like, this is horrible. And there were like 20.
There were more. There were so many. It was fucking disgusting. Yeah, just that sound. So it's, I'm really enjoying myself. I think it's pretty fun. And we'll see if that wears off. I don't know, but it's pretty fun for now. And
at the moment it's a good like fallback game. I think it's really easy to hop into. The stakes aren't high. Just kind of could go out and kill some shit, get some resources, and kind of save and quit. And the game's not. I think the game's not even out. Like it's not in 1.0 yet. It's still in preview. It's meant to launch next year. So it should be quite beefy by then. So, big round of applause to Obsidian and that tiny team of 12. That's it looks pretty as well, man.
I mean, a team of 12 made that and is updating it and maintaining it is very, very impressive. Is it not?
I think I might have lost you.
Oh god, I think we've lagged out. Oh no.
Are you still here?
We're back. We'll be back.
Looks like the answer's
after these short messages.
We're going to stop and be right back.
I guess. And he's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a solo podcast.
Hi, we're back. Ground is pretty good. Back for Blood's pretty good. I hit 100k game score. I just wanted to drop that in there. I just wanted to auto-fillet myself a bit because it's been a long time coming, 6 figures. Yeah, what are we going to say? What are you going to do? It's big.
Why are you going all fucking like New York? What's going on here? What you going to do?
You got to do 200k coming for you next. It's just a pretty big deal, no worries. I saw Dune. I wanted to say as well. I just wanted to like really erratically drop this in because this needs to be a video game. I'm not going to like make a big point out of this because I'm sure people will be talking about it. But it's like a perfect setup for a video game. And I'm really surprised that with how big video games are now compared to the last like big sci-fi fantasy IP that started like in cinema, which is maybe what was like the last big one.
Star Wars.
Lord of the Rings, like Harry Potter, I guess.
Yeah.
Like as a franchise. I mean, I guess maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because we don't know if it'll take off, but I'm just surprised there isn't more tie-in on the first one. I guess they're waiting to see if it's successful first. But yeah, I just wanted to drop that in. Dune is pretty good. Go watch it. It's very sandy. Right. Nintendo Switch. You heard of that little console?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. What the fuck? You know, we spoke about a thing that happened a few weeks back with their online service, and I said this looks dumb. And then I went to Twitter and found out I was the dumb one. Well, now the price has been revealed, and there's been the old switcheroo, and I'm not the dumb one anymore. It turns out actually this was stupid in the first place, as you know, it's quite the story. So if you remember, what?
It's a bit pricey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit pricey. That's what I thought. Yeah. If you remember, they're expanding Nintendo Switch Online, which is already a fucking joke. I mean, it's cheap, but it's a fucking joke. And doubling it, is it double? More than double. Yeah, $50 yearly rather than $20. And what do you get? An ever-growing list of Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they've just dusted off. Like, here you go, double the subscription. Stupid.
How much is Xbox Live yearly? It's like 60 quid, isn't it? So what's that, like $65 or something? $60? 50 quid?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's just crazy that's in like the vicinity of now an Xbox or a PlayStation subscription when you get so much more. Like, we have games with gold still. You know, okay, it's not amazing, but I would probably take most of those games over.
It's pretty good, man. Like, there's some good games with gold titles, and PlayStation Plus. I read an article that they're giving away Nier Automata this in November and stuff like that. Like, there are some pretty shit hot games that just get given away for free.
Yeah, I don't know. Games has gone,
crazy.
but become a bit of a running joke because it's been not so good because the funding is obviously being diverted into Games Pass, and PS Plus has been getting better because they realise it generates good PR. But I mean, yeah, you are right. Like, it's and that's the thing, that it's like those things already exist on these consoles. It's like, Nintendo, you can't do this. You can't charge people more than double your subscription, give us Star Fox 64, and think that's okay. Yeah, whatever. But it's just, I just wanted to touch on it because I felt validated watching the internet get angry, which I usually don't. I don't like that, you know, for what it's worth. But Nintendo things.
I think you do. I think low key you do a little bit. You're
just an anarchist.
Yeah.
Love the chaos.
Yeah, it's kind of bullshit. To be honest, I think with their lackluster online experience as it was, I think this should have been thrown in as a freebie and just been like, hey, you can have some of this shit that's really old and we don't really care about anymore. Yeah. You know, we'll just tack it on to your already subscription. But Jesus, man, like, that price increase is kind of not okay. For a few old games, to just be thrown in.
Do you know how many times they've tried to resell these same games?
Oh, so many. So many.
Like, there was the Virtual Console and things like that on, like, the Wii, if you remember that. So that you could rebuy it then. None of it's backwards compatible, so you're not getting to keep that.
Yeah, you can download the and buy the SENS backwards compat, like, console for your Switch as well. It costs money and you can buy the games on there. Yeah, they just, I mean, what can I say? I've always said the biggest problem with Nintendo is they're stuck in the past, and their fans are just, I mean, they're not stuck in the past, it's the fans that are, to be honest. It's the fans are making the company what it is because they just have such a thing for nostalgia. Like, I just don't, It's unreal. Like, why would Nintendo not do things like this when their fans just eat it up, man?
Yeah.
Like, if there were more revolts and more just like, oh, we want new shit. Stop giving us this old stuff and stop giving us like retro stuff, and then they would probably change their ways. But like, why would they? Like, they're so profitable just doing what they're doing now. And I
Yeah.
just
No,
it's the
you are
fan
right.
base's fault.
There's no right for there to be as much demand for this stuff as there is. It's like, you've already bought this 4 times. Do you really need to buy it a 5th time?
Yeah, it's
When
just they
you-
just have a different fan base. It's all like that amiibo
Yeah.
stuff. Like when amiibos came out, and it's like you can tap it on your console, and like I don't know, you get a new costume for your Smash Bros character. I was like, okay, great. But then like there's people out there that have collected all like 500 amiibos at like fucking 35 quid a pop, and they've got it all in their shelves, and they're just collected. They're collectibles, and their fans just eat it up. Just the weirdest shit that I have no interest in as a gamer of my generation. And yeah, they just eat it up, man. Like a full course meal.
It really is. It's full course meal with sides and
Yeah.
double dessert. So I mean, this we'll see. There's like a tiny little bit of like Games Pass influence there, because like you can, as part of the subscription, you get the new Animal Crossing expansion as part of it, which is like the only interesting part of this story, to be honest. Which like almost so my partner Beth, she's like really excited for Animal Crossing. She plays that a lot, and that expansion. And at one point, she was like, "Maybe I should just get that." I was like, "No, you're not getting that. Just buy it standalone." Yeah, so it's we'll see how it goes with this sort of subscription stuff. But it wouldn't surprise me if they started throwing some more things into it. But I just think it's such a bad first impression to like for this. So yeah. Right, my guy. So boys, girls, aliens, rodents, insects. Whoever's listening, we're just gonna go over bits and bobs. This is old news, so but we're interesting guys. You know, we have fun takes about things, and so this might be old news, but you haven't heard us speak about it, so hang around, and then we'll get onto the newer stuff afterwards.
Yeah,
thank you. Forza Horizon 5 had previews last week. They got sent out to members of the press. There is loads of gameplay. I think they got to play the opening hour of the game, or 45 minutes, or whatever it was. So there's loads of videos out there now. There was already a fair amount, but now there's more from like hands-on from players and screenshots as well. I mean, to be honest, I don't really have anything new to say, because it already looks absolutely sensational, and now it's just kind of double confirmation that it wasn't staged and it looks just as good in motion. I mean, you saw that like video I sent you earlier.
That was so disgustingly good. Like, oh my god, it was crazy. Like, genuinely, I don't even care much for racing games, but I was watching that with my jaw just absolutely dropped.
So much detail.
That was just fucking bonkers, dude. Like, we always joke that the technology's not there yet, but I genuinely didn't think the technology was there yet for shit like that. Like, that looks so good. I think that's hands down the best looking game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it actually is in competition for probably one of the best looking games ever. I mean, and
I think it probably is the best looking game ever.
And Flight Sim is up there as well. So I mean, I think which is funny because it comes back to this whole narrative, and we'll come around this back to this later. But this whole narrative when the new consoles came out about not having next gen only consoles, but everybody seems to have stopped giving a shit. And I don't know if that's just because the supply is really bad and the superconductor shortage is still in effect, or if it's because we've had Demon's Souls, we've had Ratchet and Clank, we've had now Flight Sim, which is next gen only, to be fair. And then we've got Forza Horizon coming up, and Halo, and all of these games look like amazing. They look really, really good. So I mean, I don't know if it's just that everybody has stopped caring because actually they look really good regardless, or if it's just because there aren't enough people who have their hands on the consoles to be able to complain yet. But it's nuts. That game is bonkers looking. I think Forza Horizon 5 is probably going to be the highest rated game of the year. Gonna say it.
Yeah, that game's gonna be. Yeah. I would say it might snag a couple tens from some places. That wouldn't surprise me. I think it's gonna even out probably around like a 97, 96, 97.
97? You think?
I think so. Yeah, I think it will even out above 95. I think.
Jesus, that's quite the.
Like I can't see anyone. I can't. Okay, fine. We'll say 95.
Cool.
But
I can buy into 95.
I just think that everywhere is going to give it a 9 or above. Surely, like.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I guess because I was listening to some of the stuff around like the gameplay and some of the stuff that they've added, you know, rather than it just being like a new coat of paint and looking really pretty. And that sounds like they've overhauled like the sound engine as well. You know, as much as it is an open world driving game, it is still ultimately like a sim. Like it has a sim focus. It does sound like there's new stuff there as well. And like just for reference, Forza Horizon 4 has a 92 on OpenCritic. Forza Horizon 3 has a 91. So these guys consistently get a 90s, which is mental. And I think Demon's Souls is the highest rated game of the year, if you want to count that, because you know technically it is a remake. And I think that had 91, but I'm just going to double check.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this one does everything previous Forza Horizons have done, and what people love them for. It's going to keep that same formula. It's going to look so much better, and then they've also got so many new things coming into it as well, like this whole like custom game thing and creating your own maps and all that. That's gonna be massive. That's such a big addition to the game. You could have so much fun with that, and you could do so much with that. And that in itself is going to bump it up a couple points in a lot of reviewers' eyes. So like I could see it, being mid 90s and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like for sure.
So I'm dumb and forgot Demon's Souls came out last year because it came out with the release of the console, so that doesn't count. But it did have 92. So that, I mean, as we all know, there's been loads of high-rated games this year. Psychonauts 2 with 89, It Takes Two with 89, Ratchet & Clank with 88, Monster Hunter Rise with 88, Death's Door with 88, Metroid Dread 88, so Deathloop 88, the list goes on. Hitman 3 was this year as well.
Metroid Dread
86. Yes, Metroid Dread. Let's not hurt anyone's feelings.
No, let's not.
Let's not take the gamer away. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But the previews were absolutely sparkling. The game looks absolutely sensational. Even if we won't play it loads, we did have a bit of a fun time with Forza Horizon 4 for like a couple of days, maybe a week, which I imagine we'll do with this.
I think it's something we could maybe get our friends on as well. This time around, I think
just to chill.
Just to sort of chill. And I think that might make us play it a little bit more as well. So, but maybe,
yeah. And this is one of those things. I wouldn't buy this game. I would play it on Games Pass, but I wouldn't buy it. And I love that I can do that. I love that I can boot it up and I can see Mexico and drive around on fucking volcanoes, and have my eyes blown away, and then say, "Okay, I think I'm done with this now."
Exactly.
And that's absolutely fine with me. So regardless, it's a good showcase. But I mean, props to the Playground team as always. It's mental that they consistently put out games of this quality. Absolutely bonkers. So that comes out November. Yeah, it's only a few weeks away now.
I thought it was like late October. I genuinely thought it was like in a few days. For some reason, I thought it had an October release date.
Nah, it's Age of Empires is October. Age of Empires is like literally this week, and then Forza's November, and then Halo's December.
Okay,
pretty sure. Forza Horizon 5. Yeah, so that's that.
That's great.
Um. I mean, in more Microsoft buys dumb shit news. There's a
It's
SpongeBob
not
console.
dumb. I'm
I
just
just
gonna go ahead and say it.
It's funny. It's funny that before the show, I was like, "Right, Tim, this is we've got a lot to speak about. I'm gonna cut some stuff, and of all the stuff that I cut, it wasn't this.
We
I
have to
cannot
speak about this.
You can't not, can you?
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's a
fucking
huge.
thing.
It's a huge deal. It looks incredible. I have to say.
So
Like
stupid.
I want that. I mean, we were joking around that I'm trying to one of our close friends is still trying to get his hands on a Series X, so I'm helping him out with like I've got like stock alerts on my phone. I'm trying to buy him one, and like low key, if I managed to get a SpongeBob one, I just wouldn't tell him, and I'd just be like, yeah, transfer me the money, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then this would just turn up at his house. It'd be like the fucking funniest thing ever. Oh my god, dude, I love it. I mean, I gotta say, the SpongeBob one looks stupid. Both on controller and console, it looks like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But the TMNT one, the controller actually, I'm kind of vibing with the controller. I quite like.
No, you're not. You are not.
I quite like the controller for the TMNT one. I think it looks quite cool.
Oh my god.
I think it looks alright. I think the console looks stupid because it just looks like he's got a massive pair of tits. Like I said this.
He's got an analog stick for a nose, and it doesn't.
I like
you can't
it.
put faces on a controller. I don't get it.
I'm vibing.
Like SpongeBob's missing a pupil, poor guy.
Yeah, he looks like a demon.
He looks
He
baked.
actually looks like a demon. Yeah. But yeah, basically, yeah, I would get the controller and move on.
Sounds good. That's so funny. I've just seen my note. Sometimes I just like write these notes like right before bed, like as I'm going to sleep, and all I've put is Phil, for fuck's sake, just buy a company already. You're so trigger happy.
Yeah, he absolutely loves it. All-Star Brawl. He's trying to get on board. He's trying to get his own Smash Bros on his own console platform.
Yeah, man. Okay, we've got mini fridges now in our life. We have Xbox mini fridges. They're being scalped. They're actually fairly priced, and they kind of look shit hot. Not gonna lie to you, this looks pretty cool. Great. Yeah.
If I could get my hands on one, I totally would, man. Like, it's cool looking.
Where would you put it? Would you put it right next to your actual console?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
Or like maybe on a different shelf or something. But yeah, it'd be good to like bait people out as well. I'd just be like, can you turn on my console? I'm just going to go to the toilet. And they're like, yeah. It's not working. I'm like, you broke it. You broke my console.
You run back in like, you're a fucking idiot. That's a fridge. That's a fucking fridge.
Yeah, like recording on my phone. Yeah. Say hello to the audience, you fucking idiot. I got you.
I can't believe you mistook a console for a fridge. Who does that? Dumbass.
Oh, man. But, yeah, no, they're cool. They're really cool.
Such a weird reality to be living in, but here we go. Yeah, they're cool, I guess. All right. Okay, cool. I'm really excited to speak to you about this because you obviously haven't read this, and I want to be part of this magic. So 2 weeks. This would have been our big topic 2 weeks ago. 1 week ago, I guess, had we done the podcast, and it was that Jez from Windows Central popped up a big old article on some gameplay he's seen from one of his sources of Avowed. He's seen Avowed, he's seen it in action, and he gives us quite a few details about it. This was like corroborated by a few different insiders afterwards. A few different insiders came out and said, yeah, I've also seen this gameplay, or I've seen something really similar, so I can confirm that this is the case. So I don't know what I've made like summary notes just below the screenshot. I think it would be great if you wanted to read through it yourself, or would you rather I read through it?
You read through it. I'm too nasally. I've got
okay. Stop me if you want to go over everything. Yeah, if you want to cream, stop me if you want to cream. Okay. So I guess. Okay. So I mean, first and foremost, the title of the article was details on Xbox exclusive Avowed: The Outer Worlds meets medieval fantasy. Okay. So the main points I've made here are from straight out of the article. It's quite a good article. It's probably worth a little read, but these are the main bits that I took away from it. So, sources familiar with internal plans have reached out to us in the recent months, offering details on Avowed, moving through pre-production towards a playable alpha state. Lots of people got their knickers in a twist about this, so Jez later clarified that pre-alpha is probably a better word. It's playable, and he doesn't know how the footage he's seen is. So he still ultimately thinks that 2023 is probably a good idea to get your hopes set for the game. And I think Jeff Grubb said something similar as well. Nobody knows, but that's just sort of speculation.
Yeah.
Indeed, Obsidian is likely close to having a working early version of the game with many mechanics and core gameplay pillars already implemented. I can't be sure how old some of the footage I've seen is, and there's a good chance it's far further along. So, Avowed seems to be based on a similar, albeit enhanced engine from the Outer Worlds, complete with action-orientated first-person combat and deep RPG exploration and narrative systems. We were told Avowed will feature multiple class playstyles and borrow from Skyrim's two-handed combat system. You could wield two daggers and be a stealthy rogue, or dive into archery with a two-handed bow. You could use a combination of sword and magic, or go to full two-handed magic, which is required to wield some of the game's more powerful, more potent spells and abilities. The combat seems to be more loadout based than the Elder Scrolls, which gives you mountains of spells in a gigantic list. Warriors will get access to more physical attacks like sword play, powerful kicks, and shield bashes, while casters will be given a range of spellbook options to customize and to tailor their combat style, with attacks bound to specific buttons. So, yeah, more loadout based than sort of giant lists of skills.
Yeah. So you can literally just select, you could kind of hotbar 5, essentially, or something like that, and just be like, this is mainly based around fire and mainly based around ice and stuff like that. I wonder if you can sort of change on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
You're going into a dungeon or an area and you're like, okay, shit's weak to lightning here, so I'm just going to use all my lightning spell loadouts and some stuff like that. Okay.
And I think it's
cool.
It just sounds more specialized and focused. Like Skyrim, you could kind of be everything eventually if you played it long enough. In the way that this. Whereas this is more if you think about the Outer Worlds, you spent a good 20 minutes making your character, their background, this is what I want to specialize in. It doesn't lock you in for the whole game, but it gives you a direction. So I'm going to be an archer for this run, and I'm going to expand outwards from there. So it sounds very much like that, rather than just having access to fucking everything. Okay, luminescent cave mushrooms, verdant forests awash with gigantic flora, and hulking sunlit temples, complete with skeleton-infested depths and tombs, are plentiful. It came as a bit of a surprise given the game's original trailer, which seemed like it was trying to strike a much darker tone, save for the neon spell effects. So they were saying here that it's, from the bits that he saw, there was a lot more, it was a very wide colour palette. Which is kind of surprising because the trailer definitely gave the impression it was very, cave, dungeon crawly, darky. I mean, I think it's the type of Pillars of Eternity are games that take themselves very seriously. They're not satirical games like Outer Worlds is. So, but I just think it goes to show that there's going to be a big diversity in the environments.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean like enemy types and stuff like that are going to be goofy. It just means the color palette's just very extensive. You can have still very serious looking enemy designs and stuff like that. It's colorful, right? It's nothing wrong with that. Just because it's not fucking tarnished metal and black, it doesn't mean it's
definitely.
Yeah.
Then he says, even in its pre-alpha state, Avowed looks like it plays extremely well with refined action RPG combat in a vibrant medieval fantasy world that I can't wait to explore. He also noted, he followed this up a bit on his podcast, and he said that there were dashes in the game like the Outer Worlds. Not sure if that's fine or if that will stay, but there were dashes, and also ice arrows. So I don't know why I don't actually have this here, because one of the big things that he said was that I remember that there was with the spells, there was a big focus on the complex hand gestures, like they did in the trailer. So that was those exact things was in game. For you to cast spells, you drew little shapes and They
Oh,
did a
that's
thing,
cool. That's
like
very
really
cool.
complicated animations to um for that. Yeah, and I remember him saying that there were like ice arrows which like shattered into particles and stuff. And as you know, um, all I ever want to return in an RPG game is a class, a magic archer, and nobody has done it other than Dragon's Dogma. So it's
Yeah,
I'm left craving it really.
yeah, it'd be so cool to sort of like, yeah, like imbue your bow and like have like homing like ice arrows and shit like that, which
Fuck
Dragon
yeah.
Dogma did so well. Um, yeah, that was by far like the coolest class in Dragon's Dogma, and I agree. I don't know why it's not something that more games explore. I don't know why it's not a lot of things RPGs have looked at Dragon's Dogma for and just been like, this is fucking cool. This class based system, like we should adapt on this. No one's really done that. Like
No.
it's still one of a kind, which is so surprising to me. Um,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
I think that like with Avowed being more class based, I think like there is space for that, for there to be like
yeah,
cool combinations of like classes. So we'll have to wait and see. But just to sort of polish off the bits and bobs that have been said about it, Jez went on Twitter following it up and said, "For those lamenting the Outer Worlds comparison, I did note in the article that it felt like a more refined version. They built on what they learned with the Outer Worlds. Some of the abilities I saw looked really fun and dynamic when compared to the Outer World."
yeah,
And Clobbrill, might recognise as Xbox's little insider squirrel, went to Reset Error and said, "By the way, I've seen pre-alpha gameplay of Avowed as well, so I can back up Jez here. It looks fantastic already. It heavily reminds me of a more vibrant Skyrim with a beautiful fantasy landscape. Fun fact, the first-person spell shown in the teaser trailer is in the game exactly as it was shown. First-person animation / spells in general seem to be a big focus. Everything else is summarized well by Jez in the article. Avowed will be Obsidian Unleashed." So, I what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, everything here makes me so warm and fuzzy inside. It's exactly what I expected and kind of want out of a game. Um, and I kind of was a bit thrown off, when they did say it was a bit more colourful and a bit more less serious. But I'm kind of on board with that as well, because I think that goes so well in high fantasy and very like spell driven, like sorcery focused games and stuff like that. I feel like the more vibrant they are, the cooler it's going to be. Like launching like bright fucking like purple like telekinesis spells or something like that is way cooler than just having it look like a force push or like a shout from Skyrim sort of thing. So like I'm actually completely on board with that. And it just separates itself, right, from all the other serious RPGs, which is the general tone most RPGs go for. So I'm completely on board with that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't touch too much on like enemy types and stuff. They mentioned skeletons and everything like that. But I hope there's a lot of like, not like, I hope it's not like generic RPG enemies, because skeletons are obviously very generic. No one likes fighting a skeleton. Let's be real. It's a level 1 sort of enemy. But yeah, I hope there's cool like wildlife and shit like that going on. And really cool like demons and enemies and stuff, because that's one thing the Outer Worlds did really well was its wildlife. I thought was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, and very colourful and very vibrant. Um,
It was
so
it
yeah,
was
100%.
something it was something Jez spoke about because he's a big Pillars of Eternity fan, and I played it a little bit as well. And that the game is like really thick with lore and like fantasy creatures and stuff. And he said that he's seen 3D, like he's seen the enemies in Avowed that are from it, but like full 3D renders, because obviously Pillars of Eternity is isometric. So I think like if your answer to that will be yes. So I imagine most of the stuff that's in all the Pillars of Eternity games, which is wacky, like loads of different types of dragons and humanoid like lizards or little goblins,
So
you know,
cool,
all of that
goblins.
is going to be in it. I don't have any worries about that at all. Um,
Yeah,
and I think it's really interesting that you say, yeah, like maybe like a bit ajar to your expectations of like when they mention like loads of like colorful fauna, and also that, and then the mention of like, oh, it's like borrowing from the Outer Worlds. Like it's fairly similar to the Outer Worlds in terms of like its look. And I was like, when I read that, I was like, well, that's kind of weird, because I remember one of the things I didn't like about the Outer Worlds that much is how it looked. So I had since like gone back and watched a few more videos of it, and what I guess I really mean is that I don't like some of the texture work in the Outer Worlds. I think it's actually quite a good looking game. The skyboxes look really nice, and the art direction, the actual direction of the box of like the environments you're in, is really good. It's just that just for whatever reason, some of the texture work just does nothing for me. Like when you like go up to like a house and or like the rock, like the alien rocks or something, like none of it just looks very detailed or very good. It looks like it was not finished in a way. But so that kind of threw me off. But you could put that down to Outer Worlds being a smaller AA production. You could put it down to being, you know, a last gen game. This is an Xbox Series S and X game, you know. And it's like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's a slightly different version of the engine, so it's going to be tailored to be more suitable for a game like this. So yeah, I think a couple of little surprises in there, but ultimately I think it bodes really well for the game. And like you said, it's nice. I think that it's not trying to be Skyrim, and I like that.
Yeah. It's taking elements from Skyrim and putting its own spin on them.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so much that the Elder Scrolls and Skyrim did so well. Like I do really like the first person, you know, sword in one hand, spell it in another. Like that was really cool from Skyrim. So great, take that like and just make it really cool, right? You know, like you said, they're giving it like a loadout system and stuff like that. So it's not, you're not just going through and hot barring and just going through like a massive list of spells and stuff like that. You know, you can quick swap on the fly and stuff like that. And yeah, man, you know, hopefully they'll just be a lot more experimental with it, because Skyrim had some pretty cool spells and stuff like that, but for the most part, it was pretty bland, and it was shoot fire out your hand, shoot lightning out your hand, sort of thing. It wasn't, you know, I'm sure these guys will make it more exciting.
It was, I know people are, people like look back retroactively on Skyrim's combat as something which was bad, but I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think it's bad.
It's good
at all. It's very accessible, and there are some things which are like less interesting about it, you know. But it allowed for more scope on like what you could do, and I think that was kind of the point. And to see them taking that kind of two-handed system, but then refining it with like loadout stuff and more, like classes and certain abilities, I think it will allow it to sort of really shine. And you know, the Outer Worlds played really. Obsidian have come like quite a long way. I feel like in their combat, like the Outer Worlds played really well. I know people had like problems with like the amount of equipment, the amount of, but like it played well. It like the gunplay was good. Like the melee was good. It felt nice. And like we even speak about Grounded, right? Grounded is Obsidian as well. You know, that all feels really good. So I imagine like that stepped up another notch in just this big sort of fantasy world. So buzzed, man.
Yeah, no, I'm super buzzed about that. That's still one of my most hyped games, if not my most hyped game. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it continues to be at the top of my list, really, for or at least in the top three for most anticipated Xbox games. They're gonna do so much with that, and I'm just excited to see what it looks like as well, because man, like I said, Obsidian, their art direction is so good, and I'm excited to see them finally have all the budget, all the time they need, you know, the power of the sort of the console they're working with to make something really, really special. So
yeah, definitely.
So, hopefully, we'll hear some more this year, either at the Game Awards or Xbox anniversary event, but we might not. So I'm not going to get my hopes up, but we'll come back around to them in a bit. So the next thing that happened in the previous week was Halo's competitive reveal. Not a huge amount to speak about here, but nonetheless, it did happen. It made some people very happy. It made some people very angry, as is always the fucking case with Halo.
Hmm.
But if you remember, the too long didn't read was essentially that in ranked modes, the BR will be the starting weapon, the motion tracker will be disabled, grenade hit markers will be disabled, which I believe is a first for Halo, and it's been like a long requested thing. Friendly fire will be on, which kind of implies that friendly fire will be off in social modes. Again, this has got people's knickers in a twist. The modes will be Slayer, Capture the Flag, Strongholds, and Oddball. And weapons, equipment, and grenades on maps will be on static spawners, meaning they'll always appear in the same location on each map and mode combination and will respawn at the same intervals. Thoughts?
All makes sense to me. I think some of those changes are pretty good. I think the grenade hit marker being disabled is actually a really good change. Yeah, it makes things a bit more tactical, I guess, whether or not you want to push or not, and whether or not you should. If you get a hit mark, obviously you know that person's weak, but you know, I think that's a nice change. Motion tracker being disabled. I don't think the motion tracker is kind of huge in this game anyway, but I guess taking it out completely is also quite nice. BR as a starting weapon, I like that. That's fine. The game modes are very neutral and good. There's nothing crazy in there, and yeah, the equipment being on static spawners and not changing, I think is a smart move, because people want to learn the maps to the best of their ability and know it like the back of their hands. They don't want variables to be changing and be thrown off by that in a competitive game mode. So and then if you want something that has more variables in it and is more wacky, then you've got your social, you've got your social experience, where stuff differs even on the same map. I don't have anything wrong with with this. I don't see why people are annoyed about the friendly fire thing. I mean, I guess they're more annoyed about it being off in social, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make a huge deal to me. I mean, it happens a lot. You getting grenaded by your teammates in Halo. That does happen a lot, to be fair. So like, it does kind of make that whole. In previous Halos, maybe if you ran in with your teammates spamming nades, you wouldn't run it at the same time. Whereas now you can do that kind of risk free, and it makes pushes to be a bit easier, maybe. And a bit more oppressive.
Yeah, I mean that's the argument I've seen. Yeah, like people would say that it encourages grenade spam when friendly fire is turned off, but I don't think me being in combat has ever stopped a rando for chucking a grenade deep between my bum cheeks.
No.
Like they don't give a shit. Like people don't give a
No.
shit. So like I don't buy that for a second. You're like, yeah, if you're playing like maybe if you're playing ranked, this makes sense. I think because it it adds more sort of like depth. But in social modes, you don't need that extra depth, and I think overall, it's more frustrating for people to be killed by their own teammates. And this isn't even factoring in griefing. Like the amount of times you pick up a sniper and then someone punches you in the back, and that's just like, oh, you're powerless to do anything until they do it to someone else, and then a kick option comes up, or you get. Or your grenades, some weird shit happens with the sandbox and you kill two people and then you get booted from the game. Like, that's ignoring all of that. Just the core element of like, I don't think friendly fire stops people spamming grenades. I think I die regardless. I think I will get killed by. So yeah, but overall, yeah. I mean, all these competitive settings sound good to me. I actually don't really care for battle rifle starts. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel right to be starting with a battle rifle. But whatever. If it makes everyone happy, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Halo competitive for now. All right. In Japan, I think we did speak about this, a few weeks ago. We spoke about how Japan was one of the quickest growing markets for Xbox. And we got a couple of numbers. Some pretty crazy. I mean, they're not crazy, but they're crazy by comparison. And those numbers are that the Xbox Series X and S sales have now topped 100k units in Japan. It's done so in roughly 48 weeks being on the market. For comparison, Xbox One took 50 months to sell 100k.
Jesus Christ.
It took 4.5 years, basically, to do what the Series X and S has done in just under a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Something's happening. Something, yeah. And obviously, this is like small fry compared to like how PlayStation and Nintendo sell over there. But nonetheless, this is like a really big success. So good on you, Phil. Like pat on the back. Like this is not an easy market to get into. And it makes me think why we've spoken about the appeal of the Series S over there and possibly xCloud, but
we've been doing more like I feel like we've been focusing on giving more like JRPGs and stuff like that. I feel like that's come up quite nicely on Xbox recently, and a few have made their way into Games Pass as well. Like you have games like Nier and the new Scarlet Nexus, and I think there was like an Astria Ascending or something. There's some JRPGs that have been on Games Pass, and I think that helps as well. Yeah, for sure. I just feel like we've been a bit more accepting and giving them kind of what they want and making it more accessible to them this year. So
yeah, there has been more of a focus trying to get those Japanese games over without doubt. So I guess some of that is paying dividends. Okay, my notes page has fucking frozen.
Okay,
and so have you. I can hear you. So
yeah,
what's next on the page?
We got Killer Instinct in active development.
Oh fuck yeah!
Apparently.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is news to me. I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
Shall I read this? Yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of back on it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So according to the Xbox Era podcast, Killer Instinct seems to be in active development now, according to some of their sources, and this seems to have been corroborated by a couple of insiders as well. We don't know anything about it. We don't know who's doing it. We don't know how far along it is, but it seems to be in active development. Clobroll took to Reset Era again and said that there will be a focus on Xbox IP like Dovahkiin and Doomguy, which isn't uncommon for Killer Instinct because the reboot in 2013 had General Ram from Gears, Rash, the Battletoad.
Yeah, Battletoads. Yeah.
It's crazy. And the Arbiter as well. So I think this is we've been the idea of Xbox mascots being in a game, whatever the genre, has been floating around for a long time because Sony obviously did their Battlestars Royale thing, which people really enjoyed. It was like a Smash Bros kind of game, and Killer Instinct really does feel like now, especially now with the acquisition of Bethesda, it feels like a perfect way to do that. And with Killer Instinct, I think that is such a perfect fix. It's kind of quite gritty, isn't it? Killer Instinct. I mean, it's not like Mortal Kombat, over the top gore, but it is dark and gritty. And so bringing some of those characters in, like Doomguy, like Dovahkiin, I think that's perfect.
Why not just straight up Master Chief though? That he'd be fucking so cool to be in a fighting game.
Why
are they avoiding him?
He was in Soul Calibur a while back, wasn't he?
Was he? I didn't. I didn't play that Soul Calibur.
Really early one, like Soul Calibur 2 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I
I
agree.
Him in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask what other characters you feel would be could go well, like other Xbox mascots, could go well into the sort of Killer Instinct game like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Xbox mascots, but I was definitely thinking Dante from DMC would be really cool. I know that's not, that just popped into my head, but Xbox mascots.
He's been in a Soul Calibur as well,
Yeah, he has been. Yeah, maybe Nero instead then, because he was the main focus on DMC5. I'm just trying to think Xbox mascots.
I feel like Corvo would be really cool, right? Dishonored, like Corvo or Emily.
Yeah,
that sort of black
cool
shroud that they get because of the Outsider And like I feel like that element would all work really, really well.
Yeah, for
Something
sure.
from Gears would have to make it in.
Yeah, actually, 100%. I was thinking Gears. Yeah, that would be very cool. I'm just trying to think of another one, to be honest. I don't know. Right off the top of my head, I can't think. A Ferrari. Yeah, that would be cool. Pretty OP, but yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
I think. How about like in the new Halo, like Infinite, Escharam, like the brute we see at the end of the trailer for last year. I think like that would be a cool one as well, like one of the baddies from Infinite.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that could be pretty cool.
And to be fair, this does highlight a bit of a problem with Xbox's IP is that they don't have that many mascots anymore. Like, because you think Fable, you think maybe Perfect Dark Joanna Dark, right? It's possible further down the road. Like, that's a big IP. But then I think of like, what about Ori? And it's like, Ori is not going in a Killer Instinct game.
Banjo Kazooie, not going in a Killer Instinct game. But I mean, just the whole aspect of Killer Instinct coming back is really cool to me, because it still was a game that weirdly flew under the radar for a lot of people, even though I think it had a very weird life cycle, didn't it? I know that it started off pretty shit hot and then dipped, and then it had like a resurgence a few times of players and stuff like that. Like, the graph of active players has probably been very up and down on this game. But I mean, even now, if I were to boot that game up, it looks great and it plays great. Like, even now, and that was a launch game for an Xbox One. Like I always remember the particle effects on that game when launching like spells and stuff like that. Looks so cool. It has such a cool art style and such a distinctive feel to it. And we were actually just talking about this because with Games Pass, Dragon Ball Z Fighters has just come out in Games Pass. And I've been playing that with a few mates. I've had that since launch. I'm a big DBZ fan. But I was playing that last night and we were talking about it today. Like, we love that hyper fighter sort of feel. But then you were saying, like, it's the whole team aspect you can't get behind, like having multiple characters you have to learn. And Killer Instinct is exactly that, right? It's a hyper fighter without having a team. So it definitely has its own niche, for sure. You don't have hyper fighters. It's like single fighter hyper fighters. The hyper fighters that do it these days are Dragon Ball Z Fighters, Marvel vs. Capcom. They're all team based. So it definitely has its own space in the market, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's a really good point. It's a really nice point. And it just seems like the perfect playground to bring together all of these different characters. It is difficult to envisage who will be doing this because it's double. Who was it? Double Helix made the original game, and then they got bought, and Iron Galaxy took over, and then they got bought by Amazon. So neither of those studios are now going to be making this game unless some crazy deal has happened. So, and they nailed it. Like, they fucking nailed it. The Killer Instinct was reviewed really well. It was like in the high 80s. And like you said, it's always been critically successvul. Commercially, it's done pretty well. Like you said, it has gone up and down, but it's aged very well as well. Like, it still has a like a viral interest. And like all of the sort of all of like the content creators in the fighting game space, like, still speak about it very fondly. I know Maximilian is one of the guys who loves it.
I watch him sometimes.
Right, yeah, and he's like the biggest name in the fighting community, right, in terms of content creation. So, I'm really excited about this, and I loved. Do you know what as well? I really liked it because I remember we spoke about this at the time when we were young dumb little boys. Was how good the model was for the game, because I don't remember, it was free to play and you could play like what, because the cast was quite small when the game came out. It was only like 6 characters or something, so you got to play one and it rotated on like a monthly basis or something.
A week.
Something like that.
I think it was monthly. I don't think it was weekly.
It's quite ahead of its time.
It was like that was really cool. I actually really liked that, because you got to experience all the characters without paying any money. but it was kind of like drip feeded to you, and it was enough time that you spent with the character that you really learned them more than you would. Like, there are so many characters in these fighting games I never even pick up, I never even choose, but that game kind of forced your hand, and you were like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, I'm having a lot of fun with this guy. And then like a few weeks later, or a couple weeks later, you're like, okay, you were ready for a new character. And I do think that was quite a it was risky as well. It was a really risky like play to make, and I think it paid off. And then obviously you had the option to buy a character for a few quid if you wanted. Anyway, they weren't even that expensive. It was like 3-4 quid, and for a fighting game like that, 4 quid on a fighter, like you can spend countless hours with that fighter in online matches and practice modes and stuff. It's well worth the money.
Yeah, so I remember you could just buy like the pack and just buy like everyone for like a normal full price purchase.
Yeah.
Or like you could just buy them piecemeal, and that was, I think, because we did that at one point. We played it for a bit. We're like, okay, this is cool. Let's buy a character that we like, and we spent a $5, and we spent like a good amount of time just learning that single character, playing that, and that was fun. And then we never spent more money on it, and it felt like a fair exchange, you know. So yeah, I really like that.
I think a lot of games have. I think Mortal Kombat, they didn't used to do that. I feel like it was always just buy the pack of everyone or nothing, and now a lot of games do like purchase single fighters. And I know that I've done that on Dragon Ball Fighters. I've only I don't think I've actually purchased a full pack of DLC. I've just purchased a couple of characters I really wanted to play because they're my favorite from the anime. So I think I've only bought like 2 or 3. You know, it cost me like 9 quid total, but it's so worth the money. You know?
And having said all of that, it won't make the slightest bit of difference because it'll be on Games Pass anyway. But you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they took a similar approach, like base game with X amount of characters is free, but then these are premium characters and you can buy them if you want. So we shall see, but that is exciting. I think Killer Instinct is one of the bigger IPs, and you know what? I liked, as much as we keep talking about it being a good playground for Xbox IP, I liked the original Killer. I know nothing about the old Killer Instinct, but I liked all the original characters that were in there as well. We were talking about this earlier, like Glacier, like what was it, Yago, or Jago? Sorry, Saberwolf. That's right. There's that skeleton guy. I can't remember what his name is.
I think he was DLC.
Nonetheless, but I think he was. Oh fuck! Was that a rare character?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, but anyway, yeah. I quite liked them. They were kind of like, I don't know how to describe
they were cool.
it.
They were cool characters, and which is weird to say because there was no story mode or none of them really had a distinctive personality, but they were just. I guess they just did a good job with the designs.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So that's another one to add to the pile of upcoming games that are not fully confirmed yet. And there are more. Just you wait. But before we get to that, last week, the 20th, or rather, a 20th anniversary stream was announced for Xbox. This is going to happen on November 15th. And there's going to be a stream. I don't think they said how long it will be, but it's starting at 10 a.m. PT, 1 p.m. ET, or 5 p.m. GMT. For us, that's 6 p.m. BST. And I think the day is a Wednesday, which is really annoying because it's like just after some holiday I've got, I think. But anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying.
So they said in this sort of blog post, they said, we won't announce... they said, we invite you to join us on November 15th to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Xbox and Halo with a fun digital broadcast for fans around the globe. While we won't announce any games, very good expectation setting. This anniversary broadcast will be a special look back at the 20 years of Xbox. We'll share more details soon. So, I think no new announcements. There's already so much announced that we just need to see more of. So I think there's a good chance. I think we've got to see Halo campaign here. We've got to see it here. There's no other time. It's the perfect time. It's the 20th anniversary. You only get that once every 20 years, believe it or not. Like,
wow.
I know. How does that work? It's got to be right. It's got to be Halo campaign gameplay day.
There'll be Halo campaign gameplay there. 100%. I'm not sure about the other ones you've listed, but they'll definitely be Halo. Yeah, without a doubt, without a shadow down my mind.
So yeah, the only other, in terms of what we might see for the rest of this year, we have obviously the Game Awards are usually in December. I think they're lined up to, I think it's for like the 12th, so it's just after the release of Halo. And as we all know, Hellblade 2 was announced there, and I'm pretty sure some insiders have been saying that we're going to see some more Hellblade 2 before the year's up. So whether that's here or at the Game Awards, we might see that there. And there has been some talk of Avowed appearing this year as well. Nobody seems super confident, but we might see some more. Whether it's another CG trailer with some in-engine stuff in it as well. Who knows? Maybe there's other games. Maybe we see Everwild. Probably not, because it seems to have had a bit of a rework. Maybe we see State of Decay. Probably not, because it's quite a while off. But the list goes on and on. Maybe we see Compulsion's game. They've been working on something for a while. So
yeah, maybe we see Redfall.
Maybe we see
Probably
Redfall.
Not.
Probably not, though. Maybe we see Starfield. Probably not, though.
Probably not, though.
We're hardly scratching the surface with the stuff that's in development. We know a lot of these teams are working on more games, right? Fable, for example. We know that Ninja Theory is working on other games. Project Mara, for example. The list goes on and on, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think we can be pretty certain, at the very least, that Halo 2
campaign.
Halo campaign will appear at this event. It seems too perfect, and I'm excited to watch the video. I'm sure it'll be a bit of fun. The video this year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They did sneak something in here. Games Pass Ultimate members will receive monthly multiplayer bonuses as part of the perks program for Halo, which I think is pretty nice, right? I felt like this is something they had to do, because I always thought it was a bit weird that they went with the free-to-play multiplayer for Halo. As much as I get it, because it's like trying to draw in the PC crowd. But it would be free on game. It would be free on Games Pass anyway. So, like, what's the incentive to get people to play, to subscribe to Games Pass Ultimate for Halo if it's free anyway? And I guess this is going to be it. Like, some people have said that maybe, you'll get a battle pass on like the first month or something, or maybe it'll be less than that. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's an interesting thing to just kind of drop there. I guess we'll hear more about that. Well, maybe we'll hear more about that at the event.
It might just be like XP boosts, because we know those are in the game.
Yeah.
Just giving you XP boosts, battle pass XP boosts as well. Maybe
that's right. And we are like 45 days away from Halo launching.
It's crazy, man.
Speaking about that game for a long time, like 2018.
Yeah, we have, yeah. And we'll probably be speaking about it for a long time after it's released.
That is true. Well, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Don't have a rival.
Yeah. Cool. All right. In other news, okay, so this is... What do I speak about and what do I not speak about? There was Call of Duty, right, has had a very snug relationship with PlayStation since the beginning of last generation.
No, you're right. PlayStation. That does make sense.
And there's 1 year exclusivity on the DLC, Tim. And I don't play COD, but it's the principle. Do you
it's a long time.
This shit used to be a month. I just don't feel like people are as outraged at this as they should be, and I don't, because a year is 12 months. So if we're talking about the magnitude of shittiness, this is 12 times worse. 12 times worse than having exclusivity.
Plus, there's a new COD every year, so we get the DLC when the new COD's out.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
And it's so dumb. It's so needlessly aggressive. It's so needlessly aggressive. Because it reminds me of the shit, the Destiny shit, which I'll forever be scarred about. And it's like really morally ambiguous, because I don't think it's at all reasonable that someone should have to pay the same amount. Like, it's ridiculous that you have to pay the same amount for less for a year. Like, at what point does that stop being acceptable? 2 years? 3 years? Like, at what point is it just like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to play that content that you have put on the side, like you've locked away for a little bit? At what point does that become like, I shouldn't be paying for this because I'm not going to be playing it? Like, it's just like, where is that line? And I think it's probably 6 months, a year, and it's so. And it's just so petty, like exclusive creator class, 2 creator classes. Actually, I don't know if it's exclusive. It might just be that it comes as part of the purchase on PlayStation. But nonetheless, it's just silly shit.
Yeah, it's a load of bullshit. I can absolutely agree on that. And yeah, just the type of game it is. Like I said, like we get
Yeah.
like the Destiny one. Sure, it stung, but Destiny 2's been going, and it still is for 4 years now, or however long it's been, 5 maybe even. But Call of Duty is once a year. There's a new game, and we get the DLC a year later after. That doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. Like, in fact, it would actually be less of a kick to the nuts if they were just like, you're just not getting the DLC, guys. I'm going to be honest. I think it's more of a kick in the nuts to be like, you can have it when the new COD's out.
It's dumb.
We're not even COD fans. It's just a principle.
But
it's just the whole.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, but like if they just said you're not getting it, at least there's then a rationale to like charge us a couple of quid less. But the fact that they're saying you will get it, it's just like, well, I guess I'm paying full price, and it's just so stupid. Like, and you say that about Destiny, but like one of the things that pissed me off about it is, even though they extended a lot of the exclusivity on that stuff to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, was like, because of the way Destiny worked, and they know this, was that stuff gets phased out. I remember we didn't get the Hawk Moon until like 2 years after the game launched, and by the time we finally got it, and there was like a sniper which could change elements that was like really top tier.
Borealis.
That's right, yeah, it was like really top tier for like Nightfalls and Strikes. By the time we got it, the big expansion was out, and that stuff had been made useless. It's like, we can use it in social multiplayer, great, and it's just like, I've just paid, like, that's part of the content I purchased with this game. You shouldn't be able to withhold that until it's no longer functional. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It'd be like if I bought a meal and then someone took away the chips and were like, yeah, I'm going to give it to you next week when they're cold and moldy.
Yeah,
Like,
I was literally because I was going to use the same analogy as if you bought like a fucking a coffee and like a bacon sandwich, and they were just like, well, you can get the coffee when it's cold.
Yeah,
like we'll hold this coffee for like a day, and you can have it when it's stale and cold.
Yeah, so fucking keep it. I don't want it. Yeah, so it's just dumb. Like, and I've always said, like, exclusivity is like, it's like a kind of necessary evil. I wish there wasn't exclusivity, full stop, but there is, and that's the world we live in. So business gonna business. Timed exclusivity, kind of stupid. On like full games, kind of stupid, but you know, I like kind of get it. I wish we wouldn't, but like I kind of get it, and you know, I hope we stop doing that. Timed exclusive DLC is like bottom of the barrel. The barrel has been drilled 40 miles underground. It's like covered in worms and maggots. It's just so stupid, and I hate it because you're like, people, you're paying full price for stuff you're not going to use because they fully well know. And that's the thing. It's all data driven. Like, they have a fucking graph and they're like, oh, look, people tend to drop off on the 11th month. Let's make it timed exclusive until month 12. So we can get their money under the illusion that they are going to get this content when they don't. It's so stupid, and it's so fucking... This shit needs to be regulated. I don't know why this is illegal. It's dumb. It's obviously exploitative. All right, moving on to Starfield. There was a really small video about Starfield that got posted to the Bethesda YouTube channel. Don't know if you saw anything about it. Did you see anything about it?
Nope.
Just like 90 seconds long, and they were just like, you know, you're going to be... It's called The Settled Systems, and it just showed a couple more like bits of concept art around like the enemy and the... so some enemies and some of this environments and worlds and stuff, and the colonies, and it just gives you a bit more insight. And I guess this is what they're doing now. They're just slowly drip feeding stuff to us throughout the next year. But man, it looks, when we had that like big old conversation about like, you know, more planets with less detail, or way less planets with more detail, or somewhere in the middle, it feels like it's very much that somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Just based on what they're saying, because they've gone over now a few different like planets and colonies and stuff in a few different videos, like a few different teaser videos, and they all seem very dense and well thought out. I guess it's hard to know how that translates to gameplay and everything else, but at least in concept, it very much seems like they're going for a compact but still like detailed like set of environments and planets and stuff. It's not endless and
Okay.
it's not procedural, but it's all handmade and it's all very like well thought out. So yeah,
nice.
worth a little watch. Worth a little watch if you get a moment.
Yeah, I might do. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Hmm.
Cool.
Excelente. God of War is coming to PC. I know this isn't Xbox news, but how could you not talk about this? God of War is literally one of the best games I've ever played, and it's coming to PC. And this is interesting. The reason this is really interesting is because tiny indie publisher, hardware maker, Xbox, caught quite a lot of shit for putting their games on PC. And I'm pretty sure we've spoken about this before. But Sony did this whole thing where they were like, nah, you can only play this shit on PlayStation. Like, we believe in generations, mate. You're only going to be playing these top tier exclusives. And then they're like, just kidding. We'll wait for a couple of years and then we'll put it on PC and double dip for the cash. And it's just funny.
Didn't Horizon get put on PC and there was a massive fucking kick off about that?
That was like the first one. Yeah, that was like the first one. And it's the way all their games are going now. Death Stranding, Horizon. I think has Last of Us been announced yet? Supposedly Ghost of Tsushima is coming up as well. Uncharted as well. Supposedly, I think Demon Souls already is, or supposedly Demon Souls is, according to that Nvidia leak that we spoke about like a month ago. And so I guess it's more of like a commentary on like, this is the way I think games are going, that publishers are keen to, even with exclusives, to put exclusives on console and PC, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's the way to go, man. Yeah,
why wouldn't you? And I don't know how I feel about the approach that Sony's taking with not announcing them for PC and then just launching it, like popping it there whenever they're ready. Yeah. There's like a little bit of dishonesty there. I get why they're doing it, because they want to create the illusion that PlayStation is the only place you can play this game to push hardware sales, but then they want to double dip later. But it does feel like there's a little bit of dishonesty, especially when you put it side by side with Xbox that are like, you got cross-play, cross-save, Games Pass, cloud, you just all day one up front.
They're very open with it. Yeah, it just seems like Sony are trying to deceive you. It seems a little bit snaky, doesn't it?
Because if you weren't already convinced that PlayStation weren't going to start putting all their exclusives on PC, this should be the nail in the coffin for you. If God of War is going on there, one of the most critically acclaimed games of literally all time, the rest of their fucking games are, and it actually puts into perspective for me, or rather it actually lures me into the purchase of a Steam Deck, like down the line, a handheld that you can dock to the TV. If I can buy that rather than a PlayStation and it all plays just as well, I probably will. Not being petty, I just mean like I just have more flexibility with a Steam Deck, I don't have to hook something else up to my TV and shit.
Yeah, it won't play as well. It's not going to play as well as a PS5, is it? But yeah, it's a nice alternative, and it's a cheaper alternative as well. Like, I'm pretty sure the Steam Deck is cheaper, right? I can't remember the price tag on the Steam Deck.
It's quite similar.
What, to a PS5?
Yeah, it's like £500.
Oh, damn.
But it depends on the model you get. I think there are cheaper models, but there's more flexibility. Like I'm only playing. If I buy a PS5, I'm only playing exclusives on them. Where if I get a Steam Deck, that's a portable PC. I can also play.
There are loads of cool PC games we would all love to play. We've always said that. Yeah, 100%.
So that's like genuinely like on the cards now. Like a couple of years down the line, which I think is obviously really interesting. So yeah, we'll have to see how it all pans out, but that's all good. Okay. Games Pass. In terms of subscriptions, Xbox was expecting a year-over-year 48% growth goal. Don't know why, really, but they only hit 37%, and I think it's kind of weird because 37% growth year-over-year is pretty good, right? I mean, I don't know anything
Big.
about business. Maybe that's like shit, but it was 11% lower than what they thought. And I guess what is interesting, I guess what we should note is that this estimation was made last year. This target was made last year, probably when they were expecting Halo to launch in that year. Halo hasn't launched yet,
Yeah.
so that makes easily makes up that gap.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, 37% rise in subscribers over 12 months is big. That's a huge percentage increase. Like, regardless of hitting that 48% goal, that's it's very impressive, and it shows that Games Pass is very much a thing, and very profitable, and for both publishers and Xbox, I think.
Yeah, I think it's impressive that Xbox Games Pass is done as well as it has, considering how little first party content. I know things have picked up in the last few months with Psychonauts 2 and Flight Sim. And then there's something else some other stuff. But there's like been some indie stuff which has been quite well
So
rated.
it's like Outriders. I know it's not first person, but like games like that launching straight in first party. Sorry, games like that launching straight in were very big for Games Pass, regardless of it being first party.
Definitely, and that's what I was going to say. Like, I think it goes to show that this sort of stuff is having an impact. Like, even if it's just like people are subscribing for a month to say, "Oh, let's get Outriders for cheap," or Back for Blood. Avengers has just come in recently. To get these big titles is clearly a big deal. And Red Dead was in it earlier in the year as well, so it does have big titles in it. But I think it's really going to take off, and Xbox must know that. Like, it's going to take off when you get your Forza Horizon 5 in it, your Age of Empires, your Halo Infinite. Even though multiplayer is going to be free to play, if campaign lands and it impresses when they show it off in November, if they show it off in November, people are going to be straight on that subscription because people are also going to be hesitant to pay full price for Halo campaign, which they shouldn't be, because 15-hour campaigns are like, for full price, are like fucking normal nowadays. But because it's Halo, it has that thing of like, oh well, back in the day, I got all of this for this price here. So, eyes rolling to the back of my head. Yeah, and then obviously with all the stuff next year, like Starfield, like fuck that's going to be massive for Games Pass. Redfall will be helpful, but so it's nice to see the growth. I'm glad, because there probably was an outcome where Games Pass just didn't take off. Where there was just like people like you and me subscribe to it because we see the value in it, and we have that income that we use for gaming. But I'm glad we haven't gone that way. I'm glad it does seem to be breaching, like the more core audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Excellent. Okay, how are you doing for storage on your Xbox, mate?
Not bad. I could definitely do with more. I have found myself deleting some stuff and having to compromise, so to speak. So I could do with a bit more storage, Deck. What have you got for me?
Lucky for you, Justin, there's some more expansion cards announced for the Xbox Series S and X, and they're coming at, as you know, the one we've already got is 1 terabyte, so they're coming in at half the storage and double the storage for proportional amounts of money. Half the money and double the money.
I've just seen the 2 terabyte price tag.
Oh yeah.
Yikes, dude. Fucking hell.
So I think it's nice that the options are there. I still am glad. Like, I don't feel remorse that I got my 1 terabyte when I did, because I'm not paying 370 quid for a bit of storage. I could get an Xbox Series S and then some for that.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit steep. I don't think I can justify a 2 terabyte purchase.
I will say 1 terabyte. If anybody's listening and isn't sure about the amount that they want, 1 terabyte has been really good for me. I don't find I need to delete stuff that often. It's like just enough. But I guess it depends on what sort of a gamer you are and if you flick between games or whatever. But I think the 512 gigabytes is nice as well. I think that would make a big difference. You know, you can get loads of indie games on there, and one Call of Duty maybe. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Fire.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me. Supposedly, Forza Horizon 5 is like 105 gig on Series X.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me though. To be fair,
yeah,
I mean, that's justified. The game is absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, they've actually managed to fit the whole of Mexico into that file.
Yeah, into
they've just fucking
gig.
crammed it in. Okay, we're on to our final 3 stories of last week, and the first one is that they did 343 did a stream on the PC launch of Halo Infinite and how excited they were for it and how they're it's the first time obviously Halo was launched on console alongside with PC. And sort of all the things they're doing for that and all the adjustments, the widescreen and the frames and the blah, 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 all the shit I don't understand because I'm a console player. But in that article, they also, and in the video, they also said that ray tracing is still something which is coming post-launch. And there's a couple of different angles to this because they said that ray tracing was coming post-launch last year. So... and then it got delayed and it's still coming post-launch.
Okay.
But the other side to the story is ray tracing was a big old fucking buzzword like for these launch of these consoles, and I don't care. Like it hasn't really been utilized that much, I don't think. And in some of the games that I'm trying to think of something that I've even played that has had the option.
Ray tracing is all like the shininess and stuff, isn't it? Reflective.
It's better reflections essentially. Which a lot of people are really excited for because lighting does make a big difference in these games and realistic lighting, but it seems to come at such a compromise with like frame rates that I've just found it's not worth it.
That sort of stuff was really prevalent in Resident Evil 8. The ray tracing in that game was really, really nice, and it still ran at 60.
Were there not performance options?
Yeah, there were performance options, yeah.
Because usually what's been happening is that Watch Dogs is something which sticks out to me. That these games that come out on the current gen consoles have options. It's like quality mode, performance mode, or like resolution mode. And in the quality mode, it's like, high res, high detail with ray tracing, but the frames are 30. And ultimately, that's not a compromise I'm willing to make. I'm glad there's the option there for people who want it, but that's the way that things have been going. Generally, it's not always the case. Some games have both, but yeah. So I've started. I don't give a shit about ray tracing anymore. Like, to be honest, and it's unfortunate, but because it was such a buzzword and it was something that was used before the Halo launch, people are thinking that this is spelling doom. Oh, there's more content that's getting cut, and it's like,
I was buying Halo for the ray tracing, to be fair.
Definitely.
And now I think I'm just going to cancel my subscription.
Yeah. If I can't see a grunt reflected out of Chief's visor, what am I buying this game for?
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
What's the point?
So we're both not Halo players now.
Yeah.
Halo-less podcasts.
We're both Splitgate mains.
Love me a bit of Splitgate.
Yeah. So that's that. Okay. There has been a swirling this week, of rumors. The rumor mill is a spinning from all the different podcasts that we've mentioned throughout the show, whether it's Xbox 2 with Jez or it's the Xbox Era guys, their sources, and Jeff Grub Snacks. All of this has been corroborated that it seems to be the case that Xbox is developing a cloud-based MMO with the Finnish developer Mainframe. This is really early days. I don't know who Mainframe is. They're quite new. I don't even know if they've like made a game before, but they're still recruiting, so they're going to get like industry vets in and stuff. And cloud-based, I don't know what that means. My tiny brain doesn't understand what that means. And supposedly, what this means is that the game is being developed to work on a suite of devices and to scale to what that device can handle sort of proportionally. So it might be and this is how Jeff Grubb explained it. He said that um, on your phone, you might be able to like do simple shit like gather resources, craft and, do some stuff there. And then you could get home, boot up your console, and you'd be able to go and do like, a really complex raid with your friends. Or and maybe somewhere in between on your computer, depending on the specs. So that's kind of the idea of it. I mean, how does this kind of is this? Do you know about this shit? You're Mr. IT man. Do you live in the clouds?
I mean, I don't. I don't really follow gaming development and cloud-based stuff. So no, I mean it's all quite new to me as well, to be honest. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's essentially. It doesn't make any sense though, because normally you're running stuff in the cloud. It doesn't matter what hardware you have, because it's running on its own server somewhere off in some data center, and you're just remoting onto that. So it doesn't make sense that it's scaled and it changes based on the local hardware that you're using.
I think part of it is input and controls.
Yeah.
So like you're limited to touch screen on your phone.
Yeah.
Right.
That sort of stuff makes sense. Yeah. But I mean, it sounds cool, right? Like, it sounds great, but
it sounds very experimental to me. We know that Xbox are investing a lot in like cloud technology and like especially in the gaming department, and I feel that this is they want to understand how this shit works. Like they don't want a repeat of Crackdown where they try and commit something and then realize they can't do it. Like they want to fully invest in it and realize what can be done with a cloud-based game and how is that going to be a good investment for gamers, or is it going to be a good investment for gamers? So we'll see, because I guess some people find this appealing, and it's not like totally unfounded, right? Like some games, like bigger MMOs, and like I guess like even Destiny have like companion apps and stuff, which is like not too dissimilar. Of like you can do some stuff while you're away from the game. Have a look at the bounties, or like do some customization or whatever it is. So it's kind of an expansion of that, of like giving players this ability to play locally, or not locally, sorry, you know what I mean, like at home, and then also tap into it where possible on the train or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's that. The second one, and this is actually kind of embarrassing because I feel like this is maybe a bit before our time, but supposedly there's another game in development by, who is it? Brass Lion Entertainment. And the game is going under the guise of Project Shaolin. And it's supposedly based on the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh.
That's a music group, right? I don't know anything about Wu-Tang Clan.
No.
I don't know if
I don't either.
I don't know if we're like on the wrong side of the world, or we're too young or too white. Like, I don't know why we don't like. I don't know anything about this. So I don't really know what to say about it, because it's like, like back in like original OG Xbox days, or like PlayStation 2 days, there were like fucking wacky, goofy games about like weird shit. Like, it's like that. And I don't know, like the details are fuzzy. Like it's a Wu-Tang game, which is like I said, it's a band, it's a hip hop band. And there has been a Wu-Tang game in the past, but I don't know if it's just like they're doing the music and it's like a martial arts game. I just don't know, and I don't know enough about this to even commentate on it. So please, any listeners, educate me on this shit.
It's very weird.
Right?
I don't really understand it, personally.
I think it's I think it's just funny because like it really wasn't abnormal to have like wacky, goofy games like that, but we've moved away from that in the last like I guess maybe as games have got more expensive and we've spoken about this before that there has been like a massive dark fantasy like boner in the industry for like the last 10 years. Like the big games, or at least the games made by platform holders, are just not in these goofy genres anymore. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. It's just unexpected, and especially when it's about something that we know nothing about, it makes me even more clueless to what the fuck I'm talking about. So
yeah,
internet man,
yeah,
know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, it's out there. But
Could say that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not really doing anything for me. What Woo Gods? What Woo Gods?
I don't know. What a Woo
Are you
God
sure
is.
this is about a band, or is there
Positive.
actually like
Absolutely
some kind?
positive.
Okay, it's really weird, dude. But hey, let's see what happens.
Supposedly,
There have been some games out there that have done shit like this in the past. I know there's been fighting games based around that. I remember, what was it called, like Def Jam Vendetta and stuff like that, where it was like a fighting game with all like rap artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but
that's what it strikes me
never-
as. It strikes me as like a creative, wacky project, like collaboration. Because one of the games that has been based on like their image before was like fairly well received, but I just don't know if you can get away with this sort of shit nowadays. Like maybe they're just testing the waters. I mean, I just don't know. But I mean, I'm sure they know what they're doing. They know it's got to appeal to a certain target audience, and the gameplay's got to be fun. Yeah, I know.
Crawling end game.
I know.
Or looting. I just don't understand. But
I know.
Okay.
I know, man. I have no idea. So there is just more waiting and seeing, but this is truly something which is confounding for me, and I know nothing. I can't even begin to talk about. So sorry. Right. Well, that's it.
That's it. We're done.
We did it. Yeah, we wrapped up.
Nice.
Just only one technical error, and I think we're clocking in at just over 2 hours. That's just how it goes. Did it?
Yeah, that's what happens when you miss a week. Because
Yeah.
you're sick, and we have to cover some of the old news. So hopefully you sticked with it the whole way.
I hope so.
And yeah, no, it was good to be back. And if my mic did pick up a lot of my sniffling, I do apologize.
I don't think so.
Any listeners?
No,
I think we're all right. I think we're all right.
I think you're good.
But
I think you're good. Tim, can you do us an outro, please?
I basically just did.
Do a proper one. With a bit of like well-being advice.
No, you do the well-being advice. This is your thing. I'm not going to say drink your water and don't make your custard too thick or anything like that. Like
that'd have been great.
Weird.
Okay, everyone. Well, thanks for coming. We'll be back. I hope you have enough tissues to blow your nose. Get the soft ones, so your nose doesn't get crusty. Have some milk and honey. Help you get to sleep. Chamomile tea as well. Milk and honey, yeah. Maybe lemon and water, hot water. And have a good sleep. Good night.